What's up everybody, Venom here with a quick guide on beginner tips and tricks to those just starting out in Diablo IV. Let's get right into it. So tip number 1, don't focus too much on stats for your gear in the beginning. You're going to replace things so quickly as you progress in the storyline while you're doing side quests, just killing things, collecting chests. So focusing on dexterity and all these different attributes that go onto your gear in the beginning is kind of counterproductive. You're going to get so much gear right up off rip. It's going to come to you in a massive quantity throughout the entire beginning of your gameplay. So tip number 1, definitely don't focus too much on stats. Focus on, is it an upgrade? Does it have a green plus sign next to it when you hover over it or when you compare it to your gear? Also, comparing it to your gear, yes, you can do that in the beginning, but realistically, as long as it's an upgrade, I'm equipping it. So if it has that green plus sign next to it when I hover over it, it's going on my character. Which brings me to my next tip. Salvage every single piece of gear that you replace in the beginning. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, don't sell it immediately. I know that you want gold, and gold is very important as you get to the higher levels, especially when you need to use those salvaged pieces to upgrade your gear. But you're not going to need to upgrade your gear until those super high levels just because you're going to be replacing it. Like I said, constantly. You're literally going to replace a piece of gear probably every couple of minutes if you're opening chests, if you're doing side quests, if you're doing main storyline quests, if you're doing the events, the world bosses, things like that. You're going to replace gear so quickly that using gold to upgrade it just doesn't really make sense in the beginning. So I recommend not only salvaging every item to get those materials for upgrades later, but just not worrying too much about upgrading them in the beginning at all. You are not really going to want to waste your materials and your gold in the beginning on upgrades. Now, I know that also seems kind of counterproductive as you want better gear in order to traverse the world solo and be able to kill things quickly, but I'm telling you, you're going to change your gear out so often that it's just not worth the, trips to the towns and salvaging and then spending the money. It's just not worth it right in the beginning. My next recommendation is herbs, farm. Everything that you do in this game takes materials, and that includes leveling up the quantity of potions that you can carry at one time. So if you're running from quest to quest and you see an herb, pick it. If you see beasts, kill them. If you see anything, pretty much, ores, anything along the way, collect it. Because when you hit level 10, you have the ability to go to an NPC who has the icon of a mortar and pestle on your map, and they will give you the ability to carry one more potion than you can currently. So that happens at level 10, level 20, level 30, and so on and so forth. But in order to upgrade, you have to have certain herbs and certain materials. Now, does that mean you have to collect herbs for hours on end? Absolutely not. If you see them while you're running from quest to quest, or if you're just killing monsters in the woods to collect materials and you see an herb, or if you see an ore along the way, definitely stop and smell the flowers, pick the flowers, mine the herbs, and kill beasts, spiders, anything along the way that can drop these materials. They're extremely important. They become important later on, especially as you get to those higher levels. So I definitely suggest just sometimes venturing off and grabbing materials as you see fit. My next tip is kind of optional, but it's definitely something that I recommend, especially for new players. I will say that if you have never played Diablo before, if this is your first time playing a Diablo game, you are going to want to utilize guides on Google to build your character. Now, what do I mean by that? Every character has a class, right? You're a rogue, a necromancer, a barbarian, and each of them is built differently, and there's different builds for every single class that you pick. So for my rogue, I ended up choosing a trap build, which I found on Icy Veins. I use Icy Veins for everything, even for World of Warcraft. I use that to help me build my talents out for some characters that I've never played before, or if I just want to test a new build that I've never heard of. You're going to want to utilize those resources that you have available. Just Google Necromancer build for Diablo IV, and plenty of guides will come up to show you how to build that character and what abilities are the best abilities, and there's so many to choose from, so many different sites, so many different guides. It's just a plethora of knowledge. And if you have no idea how to build a character, I wouldn't just go in blind and start randomly clicking things with the points that you get as you level up. I definitely suggest following a guide at least in the beginning until you get your bearings on that character. Now, for veteran players who have played this game for as long as it's been around, you might not want to do that. You might want to try different builds for yourself and see how it goes, but either way, I've played this game for years and I still use those guides to just give me a guideline on where to start if I'm confused. With Necromancer, I had no clue what I was doing as I have never played a Necromancer before. I was a Witch Doctor main in Diablo 3, which it's slightly similar, but the abilities are completely different. So I definitely looked up a guide for that. I looked up guides for my rogue. I looked up guides for pretty much every class that I play just to get a baseline of where to start when it comes to picking abilities and different builds and what build is best for AoE, which is area of effect. That means it hits multiple enemies at one time, and which one is best for single target, which is just killing a boss or single target enemies that aren't in clusters. Utilizing one of these guides doesn't make you any less of a player, and never let anyone tell you otherwise. I definitely had people in World of Warcraft that knew that I played for 16 plus years and were like, how do you not know how to build your shaman by now? Because things change constantly, and I don't just play a shaman. I play a druid, I play a paladin, right? So in this game, same goes. My last tip is going to be to focus on the main storyline for as long as humanly possible. Now, there's a lot of places to explore, dungeons to crawl, bosses to kill, events to attend. There's a lot going on in the world of Diablo 4, and you're gonna wanna get sidetracked, and you're gonna wanna run off and do side quests, and you're gonna wanna kill those world bosses and do these events. But in order to unlock everything that this game has to offer, you have to complete the main storyline. And there are certain things that are blocked by the main storyline, like having a mount. I didn't get my mount until easily level 35, 36, or even 37. It took a long time to get there because I kept getting sidetracked and wanting to do side quests and not completing my main storyline. I don't know the minimum level you have to be in order to get your mount. I can look into that more, but I know it took me a long time just for the sheer fact that I kept wanting to explore and collect herbs, which, again, don't get me wrong, collect as many herbs, find all the ores that you can, things like that, but do it on your way from quest to quest. Don't focus so much on the side quests right now or the world events or the bosses. A lot of things are locked behind the story, and to really get a feel for the world of Diablo and all the amazing things that come with this game, you're gonna want to complete the story. Not only that, the story is amazing. The cutscenes, the graphics, learning about why Lilith is doing what she's doing, and the plot that comes with this entire game. You're gonna want to discover it because it's just what makes Diablo, Diablo. And so I definitely recommend, while you can do side quests, of course, do whatever you want to do. It's an open world, and the world is your oyster. Crack it however you so choose. But my personal opinion, definitely try to get that main storyline done so you can really deep dive into everything that Diablo 4 has to offer you. Well, that's all I got for my tips and tricks for beginners for Diablo 4. If you like my video, like the video. If you like my content in general, subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you tuning in, and I hope these tips were helpful and give you kind of a place to get started and understand how the world of Diablo 4 works. If you've never played before, like any Diablo game, I definitely am excited for you because there's so much around the corner that just makes this entire franchise one of my favorite franchises. And I do hope that these tips and tricks help you get through at least the beginning and that learning curve that comes with Diablo. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye!